How to low bar back squat. Today we talk about how to low bar back squat, the considerations, bar position, hand placement, and then also looking at descending and ascending in the low bar back squat. How to low bar back squat. The low bar back squat is still a back squat. So the fundamentals of a back squat remain the same. So it's not a different exercise, it's a variation of an exercise, the back squat. So let's go through this. I will make a separate video for that where I show an athlete doing the low bar back squat. But for now I've brought my stick so I can explain quickly how the low bar back squat works. Let's start with the most obvious, the bar placement. Yeah, we have a low bar back squat and a high bar back squat. So let me see how that works here. So the high bar back squat would be high on the shoulders and high on the trapezius. So you see immediately the high bar back squat results also in the forearms being parallel. The low bar back squat has the bar a little bit further down, just on height of the rear deltoid, and results in a bit of a wider grip. So the idea is wide, but as close as possible as you can dominate it. So there is a bit of a question, thumb around or thumb not around. There is good evidence why the thumb should not be around, but again, it can also be with a thumb around. It's a small detail. Once you get stronger and stronger, that's something to look at. We want to talk about the fundamentals. So, lower on the shoulders, and then also what I want to show here is bending the bar. So that works very well with the stick. You can bend the stick. Obviously you can't bend the bar, but it can still give you the impression and the feeling of bending the bar, because one of the biggest challenges, the bar is lower on your shoulders and it tends to roll down. So, and that's not what you want, because you won't be able to get up and obviously hurt your shoulders. So in order for the bar to stay in place, you want to bend the bar and actively pull it into you. So now, since the bar is a little bit lower, and if you would be standing upright, the bar would be falling down. Yeah? So in the start position, you also have more of a leaning forward than in the high bar back squat, where you're in the high bar back squat, you're completely upright. In the low bar back squat, you're already leaning a little bit further forward, which has an influence on the descent, so the initiation of the squat, which means you're breaking much stronger from the hip to initiate the movement rather than from the knees. So start position, standing already a little bit leaned forward, breaking from the hip and descending until the upper thigh is parallel to the ground. And from there you reverse the motion in the ascent and come back up. Important here is that you still want to have the chest up and the head is in line with the upper body. So, one more word in the ascent. Some people talk about the hip drive, which essentially means you have to drive the hip up in the low bar back squat. To be honest, I don't agree with that, and some famous people might be angry with me. The reason is, if you tell someone to drive with the hip first, what happens is, if we imagine this is the upper body, that person goes down, the head is here, the hip is down here, and you tell someone to drive the hip up first, it'll result in this kind of motion. Yeah, so I can show it myself here. See me? So going down, and it results in pushing the hip first and then coming up with the upper body, which is essentially not a good thing, or actually you don't want to have that in a squat. So hip drive, be careful if you teach someone the hip drive, and make it very clear that hip drive should not mean hip first, and then the rest of the body. As a recap, lower bar placement on the shoulders, wider grip, bending the bar so the bar stays in place, leaning forward already in the standing position, breaking from the hip until thighs are parallel to the ground, reversing the motion, being careful not coming up with the hip first. And that's essentially how to do a low bar back squat.